Hi folks, how you doing?
I'll sort out Facebook and out.
I'll just go quickly looking to see, make sure our channel's on YouTube. Now it'll be coming up. It takes a few seconds. There we go. We're on. There we are.
Right, and we should do be public on Facebook.
Rather than reading out all the names of people that have joined us, and believe you me, thank you for wherever you are, right?
But what we will do is we're going to go back to Mr. E here and say thank you very much for the super chat, and I'm glad you've been looking forward to this one. It should be quite a good one, actually.
Yep. We got a communication. I don't know if any of you saw it. I put it out through all my groups from YouTube, saying that now it's official. We're broadcasting to 112 countries worldwide, and over the last 28 days, we've had 12,000 odd views of our broadcasts. So, guys, I can't say that enough. Thank you. We're nothing. We're nothing unless you come on and join us, right? So that's all I want to say on that. We're very, very we're humbled, handing over your hard-earned cash to the food banks, getting that done, and we're humbled by the fact you actually join us to come and see us chatting away about today's current affairs.
Yeah, and I can see the Facebook in. Hi, Jane Loveland. Hi, Melanie McCann. And we're really starting to motor up in the amount of people watching this. The other interesting thing, David, is although we're on a drive to get more subscribers, because we're on 1,564, I think it is at the moment.
Yeah.
We're actually getting bigger live audiences than some of the other bigger channels with much bigger subscription. I mean, generally, we're up there roughly 190 to 200 people watching live. That's massive, David.
Yeah.
You know, mind and hit the like button, people, because it really affects the algorithm and it helps us. Okay, if you're on YouTube, we do appreciate that. Right, David.
Too wee, too poor, too stupid.
Aye, that was this morning's headlines, wasn't it? Scotland's Auditor General Stephen Doyle telling us that we can't afford the infrastructure programmes that the government's put in place at 26 billion quid over the next decade or so. Wonder where's the Auditor General telling Westminster it can't afford its infrastructure programmes?
Yeah, I know.
You know, England does have an Auditor General.
In actual fact,
thanks,
what he's done is he has described Scotland as a country chained to the Union. He hasn't described an independent Scotland. An independent Scotland, he has got no marks on what the country's worth, what it's going to produce in terms of taxation and the natural resources and all the rest of it, right? So I've got to say the Auditor General is pants, if you forgive me saying this. Right.
Of course it's crap, but he's there for a reason. He's there to tell us people that were too stupid and too poor to run to budget for our own infrastructure programmes.
Yeah.
Well, we don't really get to budget for our own infrastructure programmes. We just get to use the pocket money that's given to us, so we can only slice the pie so many ways. Yeah. You know, as we've just found out with the schools, with the school strikes with Unison, because they're having to take £80 million for other services.
Yeah.
Which means those other services are going to lose staff, and the public are going to lose access to those services.
The one thing I couldn't believe it with that one, that was rather good. Driving down to Newcastle on Tuesday morning, I was listening to early morning BBC Radio Scotland. You used to do it in the truck, do it in the car.
I'm not angry anywhere, David. I don't fucking listen to it anymore.
You know, the chap, one of the chaps from Unison was on being interviewed, and he was saying he was being asked why they were taking a different action to the other two unions, reference the schools being shut down, strikes, right?
Right.
And he said, well, they wouldn't tell us where the money's coming from. I went, I nearly crashed the motor when he said that. You're interested in your members and the money in their pocket, and you're asking where the money's coming from.
You got to remember, but the people that will be getting the sack to produce that money will also be his members.
Yeah, but you have to understand, if he's asking that kind of question, he shouldn't have been blooming screwing the Scottish Government for more money in the first place. Or, sorry, COSLA, because it's not the Scottish Government that's involved. COSLA are doing the deal with the unions, right?
Aye, but actually the Scottish Government's getting round the table with them.
We know that, right?
Hey, Andy, welcome aboard. Hey, anyway, so that was the point of the Auditor General being on, to tell us that we're too poor. We're not too poor. Our budget's being cut because we're in this bloody union. Now, really, as David and I have explained many, many times, Scotland's asset rich, and we are a net exporting country, which means we don't have a bloody deficit. That means we've got a surplus. And if you've got a surplus, you're definitely not too poor.
But looking at the other side of that coin, England is an importing country.
Right.
So therefore, their balance of payments is out of kilter.
Yes.
When we become independent, I'm sorry, but it's going to affect them badly. You're going to see the pound. We don't dare use the pound as our currency after independence, or for any given time, any last time, because the pound is going to bomb really, really badly due to the balance of payments. The English balance of payments is going to be bad.
And that's an understatement. I really do feel sorry for the people doing that road when we walk, and we are going to walk.
Well, maybe the way to think on this is that I can well imagine that Scotland, once we've got ourselves right, will help the people in England. We will, no doubt about it, right? But it's like when you get in an airplane and the air hostess does the safety talk, and you'll read the paper that's in the back of the seat in front of you, and it says, if the air mask drops out because they've lost cabin pressure, always help yourself first before helping anybody else. That goes for what we're going to go through. The people of England are going to suffer, and I know they are. However, in Scotland, we're going to sort ourselves out first before we can help anybody.
Yes, and as I say, that's why the SNP has changed its policy, launching a central bank of currency as soon as possible.
Yeah.
As soon as expedient, as they say. They're always fancy around their language right enough, you know. Right, let's move on. Fergus Ewing, suspended by SNP as we head into the Hamilton Rutherglen and Hamilton West by-election. What do you think of Fergus getting his knuckles up?
For a week.
Aye, for a week, guy.
He's getting told to stand in the naughty step in the corner where he's done sat on, and that's it for a week.
Aye, 1 week. But it's still, the party's still taking action because he voted against the party on a couple of key issues.
Yeah.
But that wasn't it. There have been those who have been in the party an awful long time that are no happy with the way the party's evolving.
Yeah.
It has moved further and further to the left, which for us, who generally in a left-leaning society here in Scotland, that's probably where we want them to be.
Yeah.
When you look at Fergus and the team round about him, they were all talking Tories.
Yeah.
You know?
I read a post this morning. It was rather good. It was talking about the old guard in the SNP being replaced by all the new ones. Humza, Stephen Flynn, all the rest of them, the ones round about them, right? And I'll be honest with you, we're better for it. Even though I've got to give the older ones their place, that they have worked well and done well. But to be honest with you, now it's a case we need the new blood in place, and it has done as well. We're better off for it. Seriously.
Apart from that, we know it's the young people that are going to drive our independence, so we want young faces in front of them, encouraging them.
Correct.
I mean, I don't even think he's even 40 yet, is he? 38, 39?
Well, you look at Humza, that march, the pictures, the sea of people marching down the street, And this one guy in the white shirt, he looks spectacular.
He still do it, that's for sure.
Yes, and you know, as far as I'm concerned, that's the image I want in front of your people. That's the image I want in front of your kids.
I'm also very pleased to see Gordon McIntyre Kemp come to the fore and all, because he's going to appeal to the middle classes.
Yes, of course he is.
And we noticed that with that Edinburgh march, there was much more in the middle classes on that march. So, I mean, we know that the working classes are more or less all swung over to independence, right? Yeah. The majority of them, yeah. You know. So the target audience to get us out of this line is the middle classes, the curtain twitchers for the last time, the ones that voted on their wallets. You know, they're the ones who we need to appeal to. And Gordon, we believe in Scotland, business for Scotland, and Leslie Riddoch, these are the right people to get these people out the door and voting for independence.
Of course they are. Of course they are. The last one, that was when they took the different levels of people, right, in society. One ABCs, they tended to vote no because they did well out of the status quo. The good thing is that this time there is no status quo. The status quo left on a train 5-6 years ago when England voted to blooming rip us out of Brexit, the EU.
Barbara says she's worried about the GE. Even watching Glasgow Prism, Salvo, Alex Salmon, and Gordon Ross, and they've all been trashing the SNP. As if anybody's listening to them here.
That's right.
If we have a look at the polls, the SNP has gap with Labour in the last poll for YouGov, and they're not exactly our friends. The gap between Labour and the SNP is widened, and the SNP and Labour is widened again, up to an 11-point lead for the SNP. And the Alpha Party is no polling. Salvo, they want to use 83 old laws to try and force Westminster to give us back access to our assets, as well as going to the United Nations. Oh, very good, get on with it. But there's no to listen to these minority groups.
I hope they do well. I'll be the one standing there giving it to that, right? If they manage to do something.
I want to know how they're going to manage to approach the bloody UN, because it's going to be a third party member of the UN General Assembly that takes Scotland's case to the United Nations. We can't take it ourselves.
Yeah.
So if Salvo want to go to the United Nations, they better get a group like Germans for Independence or Dutch for Scottish Independence to take the case, or get their government to take the case.
And you'll remember, if you read anything about the formation of the Scottish Parliament, it was a Scottish UN delegation that got the OECD involved. And it was the OECD that put the pressure on first John Major, and then when it fell off his blooming desk, it fell onto Tony Blair's desk. By that time, the OECD were screaming and actually talking about sanctions against Britain. So therefore, Tony Blair had to act.
And the Council of Europe has already had threatened to throw the UK out of Europe.
Council of Europe, sorry, I do apologise for that. It wasn't we.
Right, anyway, that takes us away from what we're talking about. Fergus getting a slap in the wrist. Now, some of the old guard just don't like the way things are gone, because the new, younger MSPs see the world in a much more fresh, much more urgent way than they do. I mean, protecting the planet. You know, there's a few grumbling in the SNP want us to break our coalition with the Greens. Why? It's the right direction of travel.
Correct. And, you know, I have to say, we've suffered enough gradualism, don't you think?
Well. Right, let's move on to the next one. Cruella Braverman buggers off to the United States to give a right-wing speech at nearly curls everybody's bloody hair. What did you make of that? Bloody muppet. We know why she went to the States, because if she gave that sort of speech here, it'd be compared to Powell's Rivers of Blood, and she'd get lambasted.
Yeah.
Absolutely lambasted.
She is just. She seems to be a horrible person. Yeah, I don't know her personally, but I can only look at what she's actually come out with, and certainly that action there to actually attack the rights of refugees is ridiculous.
But to demand The wee fascist is demanding that the United Nations rewrite the UN Convention on the right to seek refuge. I mean, we fascists turns into say 780 million people have a right to come here. Wow.
Right.
And then the other thing she wants to do is crack down on the LGBT community getting refuge.
Yeah, that was the worrying one. This thing that she did about the rights of the refugees, as far as I'm concerned, buried what the thing that she came out with.
And that was they don't want single women who are being persecuted in Afghanistan for people with the Taliban to flee to the UK, and they don't want a LGBT community running for some of their friends like the bloody Saudi Arabians who put gay people down.
Yeah.
You know, they execute them.
Yeah, they're not the only ones. There are certain African states that
I think it was quoted at 64 states it's still illegal to be gay.
Yeah.
And this is talk about she would make it illegal again.
Yeah.
Vamport.
You know, as a father of a couple of gay children, they're not kids anymore, but that to me is just absolutely ridiculous. We've come a long, long way. Thank goodness we've come a long, long way.
You and I are older. Remember that day.
I was one of your 1970s heads as regards gays and all the rest of it, you know. And
you and I are old enough to remember it being illegal to be gay.
Yeah.
I mean, what sort of backward country was the place?
Yeah.
You know, but really sick. And then she tried to make a distinction between persecution and discrimination.
Yeah.
Of course, we should have said people were being persecuted, she said, but no, people were being discriminated against. If you're living in a state where they're going to take your life until they find out you're gay, that's not discrimination. That's definitely persecution, David.
Yeah. Apart from that, Neil, that's frightening. You know what I mean? It's like, guys, get the next blooming taxi out here, you know.
You know, what's the press conference afterwards? Maybe when she went to an American right think tank to give this bloody speech. Because she thinks, as I say, she should have been, she is getting slaughtered here about it, actually.
Yeah.
But she's, of course, positioning herself to take her as the next leader of the Tory party, what's left of it.
Well, no, she'd get a good job with the Republicans across in America. Oh, did I say that out loud?
In the speaking circuit in America, if she loses her seat, but she managed to hold on to her seat, she is going to become the head of the Tory party next.
Yeah, well.
But hey, Jesus Christ. Right, let's move on. Starmer to block talk of Brexit and the two-child benefit cap at Labour Party.
Well, it's not all he's going to block. He's basically going to create a window, a very, very thin window of topics that people can actually talk about at the conference.
That's right, and it's going to be based on the policy document.
Labour Party are becoming so like the Conservative Party. Because, you know, the Conservative Party at their conference, what they do is they put up the steel fence round about wherever the conference is. And I can imagine Labour are going to be doing the same.
Aye, Margaret, you're right. We do know that she had to go ahead for fucking Downing Street to give that speech. Which is quite frightening.
Well, so now we've got fascist. What's the song? Clowns to the right of me, jokers to the left. Well, in actual fact, what we've got fascist to the left of me, fascist to the right. Here I am, stuck in the SNP.
Where we want to be, actually. These fascists as far as we can be.
Yep.
Say Starmer has decided the only policies drawn up by a policy forum, and we know that basically this is Rachel Reeves and who more or less, when the policy forum was meeting to decide on the next manifesto, was chopping everything to heat because she intends to stick to the fiscal rules laid down by the Conservative Party as is at the moment. Mm-hmm. So therefore, there will be no spending. why they don't want them talking about the bedroom tax. That's why they don't want them talking about the 2-child cap. That's why they don't want them talking about the rape clause. That's why they don't want them talking about. I mean, even Gordie Brown's telling them to scrap university credit. Saying that, nobody listens to Conkin Fist Bruni anymore, you know. But I mean, but basically, Starmer shutting down debate on this particular on these the subject of benefits and the subject of Brexit.
Does he not realise the damage that he's doing to his own campaign by doing that? Or is he expecting that the majority of the people in England are made up of gammons?
Yes. He's applying, he's got a funny, I'm not even going to be fair to him because he's got, what he's trying to do is juggle between the middle classes and the red wall, what used to be the red wall.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's abandoned the unemployed. You think, fuck about them, they're not getting to vote, them the ID.
Yeah.
You know
they
what I mean?
can get ID if they want to, by the way.
Yeah, but the information is pointed out by the Electoral Commission isn't being made available by the government.
Yeah. Yeah.
So people don't know where to find your voter authenticity certificate, it's called.
Yeah.
To the councils. People don't know how to get it.
Yeah, but the government don't want people to get that information.
Of course they don't. But
just as a wee aside, and talking about government and you know, like Conservative members, have you heard that Rees-Mogg is now Sir Rees-Mogg?
I know.
What did he get? What did he get the knighthood for?
Being a dick for the 18th century.
Yeah, I mean the haunted fucking pencil. That's what we call him. You know.
But let's just call him a useless tool. That way I'll not use bad language or the wrong language.
You know, I seem to remember way back. Yeah. I'm talking about when I was a kid. It seems that people that got a knighthood for doing something.
Yes.
Right? Like Sir Francis Chichester was the first man to sail around the world in a trimaran. That's a 3-hulled yacht, right? And he got his knighthood off the back of that, which was fair enough. You know, the guy's done something pretty insane, right? So what has the haunted pencil actually done for the UK? Nothing.
He survived sticking children up bloody chimneys to clean them. That's what he's done.
Oh dear.
Right, let's move on to the Starmer shutting down debate on benefits and Brexit at the Labour Party conference. Another thing, David and I were reading this morning that the City Council's passed a bylaw to stop people flying drones in the city centre during the Labour Party conference. I guess they don't want us to see that big fence they're going to be putting up because they're just like the Tories.
Hello, is that President Erdogan in Turkey? Can I have half a dozen of your most explosive drones, please?
Don't give the Tories any idea. If they thought they could blow the Labour Party up, it would be the best way to win the next election, they'd do it.
Oh dear.
Right, let's move on to something else.
Yes,
let's go ahead in Glasgow.
We're talking about like with bing.
Don't get nasty. We're talking about safe consumption rooms.
Right. Yes, I would say that is most definitely a victory over the stupidity of the British establishment
and the Home Office.
And the Home Office, yes. So, and to be honest with you, we were talking about this before the broadcast, and I was thinking, you know, what's going to happen is that when it actually goes ahead, right, the very moment it goes ahead, the world's press are going to like end up circling this wee room, right, and there's going to be like 6 deep photographers and all the rest of it, right, and the Glasgow police are going to have to create a cordon. They're going to have to create a cordon for all these wee guys.
Anyway, it's going to be opened up in the East End.
Saying, listen, son, have you got your stash with you? Don't forget your stash because we don't want you getting there and nobody will do it.
I don't think the press will be allowed into a health centre in the East End where they're going to be running this.
But they can stand outside.
Aye, they can. There's no shortage of the press having been involved in this one. If you go to the BBC website, everybody's trumping about this being a GB success. Did you notice that? The top shooting gallery in the UK is what we go to the press. No, in the UK, in Scotland,
no, that does upset me. When you get a Tory politician standing up somewhere, right, and saying, "Oh, we've got the best NHS," they're talking about the Scottish NHS when they say that, so they're not lying, right?
That's right, yeah.
We've got the best this, the best that, and it tends to be Scotland stats they're talking about, right?
But anyway, there's more good news on the drugs front as we battle Scotland's drug and drink addiction, which is, as we know, is a fallout for the end of the last industrial revolution, and it looks like it's going to be a problem at the start of this industrial revolution as the UK economy tanks. But it would appear that the Scottish Government have once again smashed their own attempts to get drug users who come forward into treatment.
Yeah.
Now, they set the target at 90% of those coming forward getting treatment within 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
They've had 94% of those coming forward within 3 weeks. That's bloody brilliant.
Yeah, of course it is. Absolutely.
Now, as we know, we're only just starting to get up to speed on rehab because that requires a facilities in order to take people out of the urban environments and things like that and put them into these places. So but that is catching up as well. But the idea of this a safe consumption room, these safe consumption rooms, it will now give the users there a wraparound service and a chance to get after the drugs as well. You know, so
one final word I want to put into that is that we've talked about it in the past, and it is down to, we're talking about drug deaths. We're talking about drug deaths. The two different ways that the death certificate is handled. One way is the Scottish way, whereby you've got died due to heart failure or whatever, right? And then it says contributory factors underneath on the death certificate, and the doctor obviously writes down misuse of drugs, right? And that gets picked up by the statisticians,
yes.
And it says that Scotland's got a massive drug problem. However, in England, they get asked one question: what did they die of? Heart failure, and that's it. And that's it. That's all. So
what's happened when people are found with drugs on them when they're going to the shooting up centre? Nothing's going to happen to them. Dorothy Baines made it clear that she's not going to prosecute anybody who's using these facilities. So if you can legitimately prove you're on your way to that facility when you've got the drugs on you, then you will not be prosecuted.
Yeah. If for your policeman on the beat, right? It's going to be a waste of time because you're going to know that you've got them bang to rights. You've found the stash. But when it gets into the blooming station and you start to book them, the desk sergeant's going to go, "What are you doing, son?
Right.
We're not going to be able to prosecute this." You know?
Right. Tell me, stop wasting poor bugger's time and take him out of the rehab centre he gets his hit.
Get them in the light. See if you can get them through all the photographers, all the international photographers. Get them into the safe shoot-up place. So
it's a good news story. It's a victory for the Scottish Government who have been in a battle with Westminster to get these places up and running for a number of years now. And let's hope we start to see them spread. But the particular centre that's being set up in Glasgow is being sponsored by Glasgow Council and the Scottish Government. It's going to apparently to give the users a complete wraparound service. It will be £2 million a year to run the centre. So multiple centres, that will all depend on how quick we'll become independent because we need the money to do it.
To wind it up, it is a victory for good old-fashioned Scottish common sense. There you go.
Aye, right, let's move on. Rosebank Oilfield gets the go-ahead.
Oh, aye.
The United Nations are now calling the UK the dirty man.
Yeah. It is a ridiculous situation. Do I disagree with Rosebank? There was a lot of people on that debate night last night that agreed with Rosebank being given the go-ahead. But I disagree with Rosebank being given the go-ahead. However, there's a bigger issue here. You've got the situation whereby at the moment the oil and gas companies are getting 91 pence in the pound to help them carry out their operation. Whereas any company that's building up or constructing a renewable wind farm, they are in a situation where they're having to pay a windfall tax, and it puts their numbers out of kilter for doing it, right?
You know, a couple of big offshore wind farms in England and in the south of Scotland cancelled because the people who were going to build them said there's just not enough money in it.
That's right. That's
right. Basically, what the Tories are doing is they're feeding the fossil fuel industry when we need to be shutting down the fossil fuel industry. But of course, as we know, there's another interesting part to that. What's this? Super chat. Hi guys, still at work. Catch the show when you get home. And cheers, Davey. T-shirt is cool. One thing to say is out the door in 24. Thanks, Davey. You're a superstar. Anyway, I had to do with. I've seen David and Dylan in Falkirk, and I'd got a T-shirt made, an Indie Truck Davey T-shirt made for Dylan. And I'd ordered a medium for him. But it turns out Dylan's much bigger than his dad, so I'd also ordered 2 large for myself. So I gave Dylan a large and I gave his dad a medium. So I've got a new T-shirt and all for myself.
It's a situation where you look up the way and you go, "Do you want your pocket money, son?" Is that what you're on?
Right. Anyway, let's get back to Rosebank. Now, David, you and I were called conspiracy theories because we were talking about the Clare Ridge when they were telling us the oil was going out.
See, when people call other people conspiracy theorists, stop it. You've no right. Sometimes conspiracy theorists in your eyes get it right. The Clare Ridge that was getting built, we knew it was getting proven at the time of the run-up to the 2014 referendum. They were asked about it, and one of the debates on TV, and the Better Together mob said, "What are you talking about, Clare Ridge? What are you talking about? Never heard of that, right?" And what happened was that we had the 2014 referendum took place. 2 weeks later, the BBC ran an article that said that Clare Ridge had been opened, the largest light sweet crude well in the world. And at the time of the run-up to the 24 referendum, we were getting information left, right and centre from a chap that called himself the Ginger Cat. And I met the guy. The guy's a legend, absolute legend. And what they were actually...
Ian Woods, the oil tycoon, telling us the oil was only going to last between 5 and 10 years. Here we are a decade on, and they're opening up new fields. And it's not just Rosebank. We've still got the Campbell oil field to be opened up as well.
We were told at that time that with 15 million barrels, no, 15 billion barrels of oil equivalent, and it was just a lie. And that Ian Woods, he became Sir Ian Woods because he lied through his teeth to his own people.
He's lying to the people of Scotland. That's what he gets his knighthood for. Can't wait till we go to his bloody union. There isn't any knights. Then we can put our foot up his bahookie as an ordinary man rather than a sir.
Correct. Anyway, but this is the thing. See this conspiracy. It's now taken to be that if somebody wields the conspiracy theory thing, right, it seemed to be an insult. It seemed to demean someone who has spent a bit of time doing research. There are conspiracy theories. I mean, I can point to them in America. They're blooming nut jobs. And that's what's given credibility to that. However, when you get somebody across this side of the water that's blooming doing research on stuff, you can be guaranteed if there's enough of us doing it, we'll come up with a real reason of what's going on. So therefore, people call you a conspiracy theorist, and you find out something, and the actual evidence is screaming at you.
Once again, another thing we're seeing today in the press, or in the last couple of days in the press, is UK opens new oil fields.
Yeah.
When the fuck did the UK get any oil fields? Last time I looked, they were all Scottish.
Yeah.
Well, actually, they're not, and we don't even make any money off them.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, let's move on to Tommy Shipper.
Just one thing on that, David. Nobody will know yet. One thing on that. It's an important issue, right? I noticed on the debate show last night that everybody was talking about the Rosebank, the oil and the gas as being the UK's. Is it hell? It's sold to the highest bidder, and the highest bidder can be the other side of the world, right? So therefore, what they were talking about is, we should have, it's going to cause us to have lower electricity bill, gas bills, and all the rest of it, right? No, it's not. No, it's not. The British government, the UK government, have got the power, because they operate the licenses. They have the power to state to each one of the people that are operating in those licensed areas, you will supply your oil or your gas, the needs of the UK first, and at a certain price, and then any surplus can be sold internationally. That's the power that the UK government have got, and I hope you realise it.
We'll get somebody saying, why doesn't the Scottish government point out the different ways that things are recorded here in Scotland? Because everybody knows. And that's the job of the National Records of Scotland. It's not the job of the Scottish government.
Yeah.
People, once again, people forget how things work.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on to Tommy Shepard and his court battle to get the polling on UK nations on the idea of independence. Thanks very much, John. That's very generous of you, dear boy.
Yes, thanks, John. The thing that will just stop you there. The poll didn't just include Scotland. It included England as well. Yeah, and it would also have tested the water in terms of Northern Ireland.
Yep.
Yeah. So, what's Tommy Shepard actually interested in? Come on, David. I know you know the answer to that.
Aye. What's the polling for independence in England is what they're interested in. It's what they're trying to hide.
Yeah.
You know, it's what they're trying to hide. Now, as we know, the last poll that was allowed to be done privately on this subject, and I've never seen another one since, 49% of people in England wanted to break free from the union. You know?
Yeah.
Which is roughly the amount of people who want to leave. It's a 50-50 case in England as it is in Scotland.
Do we feel...
No, let's get a bit of meat on the bones in this story, David.
Yeah, okay.
What happened was Tommy, under a Freedom of Information request, asked for these polls.
Yeah.
Michael Gove, who's a Levelling Up Minister, said no. So Tommy then went to a first-tier tribunal who told Michael Gove to release the polls. It's in the public interest and it's public money.
Yeah.
The government defied the first-tier tribunal and then took it to a higher court. Yeah. Now, Judge Wright, who's sitting as the judge on this one at the High Court in England, he's now, the case has been heard. The case ended on Tuesday, the 26th, and Judge Wright said he'll come back quickly with a decision on this one. Now, I don't know whether he will tell them to release them or whether he won't. I don't know.
I get a feeling...
What the UK government are claiming is they're actually actively using the statistics from these polls to direct policy, and that's why they won't release the statistics and the polls.
I think talking constitutionally, Judge Wright will be briefed in a back room somewhere, and he will come out against it. He'll go, no, sorry, I have come down the side of not releasing the poll information. And I think really, if that does happen, that should be speaking volumes to us as to what the British establishment are all about. I would actually be shocked if the polling got released, because if the polling gets released, it means the British establishment aren't really that bothered by it. I think they are. And David thinks they are.
I think they're freaking.
Yeah.
They're very frightened that the people of England are going to want to take back control, and they know that they've squandered all the wealth that the people of England had.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, as you've pointed out, David, England is an importing nation.
Yes.
And it relies very heavily on Wales for water, Scotland for food and drink, and Northern Ireland for food and drink. 60% of the food in England comes from other nations.
Yeah.
You know, and this idea that they won't trade with us, we've just given you the reason why they'll trade with us. They need oil, they need gas, they need water, they need food, they need drink. We've got a surplus of all these things. We're a mass exporter of all these things.
Look, I'm an old man now, right? But I'm intent to keep my company going for as long as I can, right? Do you imagine for a minute I'm that worried about independence and thinking that, as I do, 98% of all my work comes from England, right? Do you think I'm worried about whether or not my business will have to fold because I'll not be able to trade with England anymore? Talking a load of shite.
Yeah.
I'll get work off England because I'm faster, smarter, and cheaper. There you are. That's the three magic words in business, right? And that's the way it goes.
Eddie,
Businesses don't bother about what governments do. Businesses work around things like that, right? So there you go.
Eddie's telling us there's 154 watching us on YouTube, but there's 208 people watching us live, David. That's a massive audience.
That's good. Yep, great. Wonderful.
209 now. It fluctuates a wee bit. Right, so this polling information has got the Tories and the Labour Party doing that road scare.
Yeah.
They definitely don't want it getting into the public realms, because if they publish this information and shows the people of England want a referendum on independence, they're going to have to give the bloody people of England a referendum on independence. You know?
What the people of England want.
They're not going to be able to argue with the people of England that they can't leave the union because they're too poor and too stupid, because the people of England won't wear it.
Yeah, that's right.
Because they've been told for so long they subsidise the rest of us, when we know for a fact, since the discovery of North Sea oil, Scotland has subsidised our UK to the tune of 450 billion quid.
That's billion with a B. All right.
Aye, billion with a B. So, anyway, the court case finished on Tuesday, David, and Judge Wright said he'll come up with a judgment as soon as possible.
I'm not holding my breath on this one. I do think it's going to go against.
I will.
But am I angry at Tommy for wasting it? No.
No, but here's the thing.
He's done an magnificent job. He really has. And
here's the thing. The judge actually wanted to send it back to the first-tier tribunal where a judgment had already been made.
Yeah.
He was forced to take it forward. This particular judge, when the evidence was put in front of him, said, no, the first-tier tribunal was right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Take it back there and argue your case back there, Westminster government. But no, they insisted on going to a higher court. I've got a funny feeling he's going to come down on Tommy Shitter's side here.
Yeah.
But it depends on whether they can nobble him or not.
So, moving on. What do you think of Network Rail's budget being slashed?
By 40%. I just think they don't give a fuck about the safety in the railway. And that comes 2 weeks after Network Rail gets fined £5 million quid for the Stonehaven crash, which killed 3 people. Yeah. The building company who built the culvert, which was supposed to take the water away, which was supposed to stop landslides onto the track, they built the culvert to spec that was given to them by Network Rail, so it was Network Rail's fault.
Yeah.
So when they were taken to court by the Health and Safety Executive, they get fined £5 million quid a couple of weeks ago, and now they're taking £6 billion off the Network Rail's budget UK wide. So they just don't care about the safety of the travelling public.
Well, that was a disaster for the 3 people that died at Stonehaven, right? Will that make it safer or less safe?
It's going to make it less safe right across these islands.
Yeah, just to give you some stats, there are 9,824 miles of track in England, but funnily enough, there's 1,372 miles of track in Scotland, right? In England, they've got 3,339 miles of electrified track, and in Scotland we have 441 miles of electrified track. That means if you take the totals, Scotland's got 13.9% of all the train tracks in the UK. Well, as far as I'm concerned, that means that we should be getting 13.9% of the budget spent on us. At the moment, when you talk about going down from 11, was it going down? No, it was going down from 17 to 11 billion. That's right.
0.6 to 11 billion. Yes, 11.1 billion. Absolutely shocking.
That's true.
And Nathan's asking if John Don Burgess, the London bus driver, would vote for English independence. Okay.
An interesting point, I suppose.
Aye. We're never going to be able to ask him. He said the other about, I think. But so, I mean, they really don't care, do they, about the travelling public safety? And this is the thing that Mick Lynch is talking about. It's one of the reasons for the rail strikes down that road.
Yeah, but
because they recognise that public safety has been put at risk here.
We are at a stage where Scottish independence isn't something that we might like. It's biscuit, short bread, biscuit tins and tartan, right? No, we need independence, so we're controlling all this stuff from our own independent government. And that's really vitally important. People are looking at it. People are going to die here.
Aye, they're going to be accessing these railways.
Yeah.
And we already know that we've had a dilapidated railway system anyway, right across these islands. Right. They've never spent money upgrading the infrastructure for years.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that we are upgrading the infrastructure here in Scotland with the Glasgow-Edinburgh line electrification, the electrification of the Aberdeen-Inverness line, the building of the new Borders Railway. But, they're not doing that down that road.
Yeah. I mean, we've got a few days of the Dalmuir station being reworked on. It's nice to see, that they're keeping up on that. But that's just dreadful. It really, really is, honestly. Anybody, come on, anybody in England watching, for goodness sake, you're going to have to take this forward. You're going to have to take this to your English Parliament, which is Westminster, and say, not on. You cannot have this. Network Rail is vitally important.
It is vitally important. The railway travel is vitally important right across the UK. And it's going to be more and more important as we move forward towards net zero.
Yeah. It's too expensive at the moment. It needs, that side of it needs sorting out. We need to take out the companies. Let the water companies splashed 75 billion up against the water. 75 billion given by English people to actually sort the sewage and all the rest of it out. And what they did was they gave it to their shareholders, right, to go and have parties, right? So, and it's the same with railways. The railway companies, the ones that run the train services, they're the ones that now need to be worked on the same way as the English water companies are being worked on.
What they need to do is renationalise what we have here in Scotland.
Yeah, well, basically what we did was we took over.
ScotRail is now an arm's length company belonging to the government, who are now running Scottish trains.
Yeah. So, and they do something.
That's the interesting thing. We run the trains, we don't run the network.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's bloody madness.
Yeah. Absolutely. And
the potential council tax change. Or you talk about this piss that the Sarwar's talking about with 22%. Listen, that's the public consultation. There is nobody. And
David, put it up. David, put it up. Let's see the comment. Right.
I'm worried about potential council tax change. Remember, many people in bigger houses are now pensioners and on a fixed limit. Listen, that's why it's not going to make it. That's why at the same time Cosler's named that the Scottish Government's been trying to can't get an agreement in the Scottish Parliament. Cosler's looking at a replacement for the council tax because they understand that not everybody is asset rich. It's cash rich. That's why these changes just won't be approved.
Yeah.
And because it's out to public consultation, there'll be bodies and people who have interest in the subject. I tell you ought to get involved in the consultation. Yeah. Just go and say, no, we can't afford this change.
What was the laugh about Anas Sarwar? He's been going about chapping doors telling people they're going to get 22% put on their council tax.
He's a liar.
You know
It's a
what?
consultation. It's not even a bill or a law.
Yeah.
It's just a public consultation. Put the idea out there because they're looking at more progressive taxes to try and ensure our public services don't get don't run out of money.
And anyway, the actual houses that are under consultation are not A, B, C, and D. It's E, F, G, and H. They're really, really expensive houses that go up, right? And it's like, you know, Sawa is blooming stating that it's going to be everybody that ends up with this that way, 22%. And it's
part of the consultation.
The Scottish Parliament. It's not the Scottish Parliament that are involved with that. Yet again, it's COSLA.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Ange Ryan is saying I've emailed the speaker complaining about Sawa. Good for you. Good for you.
I got a reply back and off, an automated reply, and so did Thomas MacArthur. We all got automated replies saying that this has been brought to you've reached the Speaker's office, all be brought to your attention. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So the Speaker has now been made aware that Mr. Sarwar was misleading the Scottish public, and also tried to pull the same stunt in the chamber twice. I played the bloody video. Unfortunately, I don't think it went out on I did that particular one out on my stream, and the one I did before it on this carry on earned Scottish Independence page. They fixed my mistakes and put up the video.
Yeah.
Because I'll need to learn how to edit, David. So that we can sort these mistakes out. But I tend to go live with these things, you know. Bloody hell, your figures are brilliant, 222. Right, so Network Rail mess. Let's move on. New legislation from the Scottish Parliament to create a patient safety commissioner who oversee the NHS. And it was voted through 114 to 0. So 129, that would mean there was 15 abstentions or people were absent from work, which with a high rate of viruses kicking around, you'd expect with a group of 129 people plus other office workers and things like that there will be quite a few of them on the sick. Yeah. Hello, Storm Sky. Anyway, so do you think this is a good idea?
What was that? Okay, I saw that we actually discussed Millie's Law beforehand, but before we get into that, I've got to say, a safety commissioner cannot be seen as a bad thing per se, right? I think we all agree with that. Anybody that's like a health and safety officer, there can be a pain in the jacksy because they say, oh, we need a barrier around about the top of that and all the rest of it, right? And it costs you extra time and money and effort. But a safety commissioner who's looking after the patients, and in actual fact would have a fiduciary responsibility to report fact. Yes. And that would take the carpet out from underneath Ms. Bailey, who lies through her fucking teeth 7 days a week in order to undermine the NHS in Scotland.
Thanks, class action. Do you think Sunak is going to call it GE this off? No, I think it'll be spring. That's just my opinion. I think it'll be in the spring.
We both agreed that that's our bet, is a spring general election. So anyway, carrying on with this. Safety Commissioner, I think, yeah, good idea.
Now, the idea is that the public take their complaints about the service to this Safety Commissioner, who will be independent of the NHS and of government.
Yeah.
And they will have the statutory ability to look into these things. And that way, it will save us a fortune in public inquiries.
And also it will save us the silly anecdotal bits of evidence that we hear of Anis Sarwar as he's chasing ambulances.
This commissioner was also the ability to slap the Parliament if people at Sarwar's ambulance chasing like him and Dross for the day. Yeah. I mean, they claim that I don't know where they're getting these bloody stats from. Here's a stat for you, Sarwar. Here's a stat for you, Dross. Don't know anybody that's paying for their cancer treatment, But I'll tell you how quick you get to see a cancer specialist here in North Lanarkshire. Sarah seen the doctor on a Tuesday, and by the following Wednesday, she was in Hermeyer's seeing the breast cancer specialist.
I have a very good friend.
That getting 398 days for you.
Yeah, I've got a very good friend that's gone through a similar experience, but we're talking like a couple of years back that she got her diagnosis, and it's like that she was seen within days, you know. So
anyway, this commissioner's going to have the ability to slap people at Starboard when he does these stupid things. But I'm really going to ask where these stats come from.
Yeah.
And I want proof that people are paying privately out their own pocket for chemotherapy or cancer treatments. Because most of them will have insurance, whether it be through their work or whatever. I did the stats. I did a programme on. We spoke about it and all. Yeah. I did the stats on how many people have got a private health insurance through their work, which they weren't using before because the NHS wasn't under so much pressure. But now they're jumping the queue and using it. Yeah. So if you've got a dodgy knee or a dodgy hip and you get a private medical insurance through your work, you find the 20 quid excess and you're going to get it done.
Yeah. That's right.
So that's why the amount of people using private health insurances, using the private sectors went up. Well, we've got to remember though, folks, when you're using the private sector, all you're doing is slowing down the public sector, because it's the same doctors and they're having to devote their time to the private sector as well as the public sector. And they shouldn't be allowed to have two contracts like that. Should pay well enough for the public sector. You know, simple as that. And that's what we're doing in independent Scotland.
Yeah.
So anyway, so a new healthcare commissioner to look at problems within the NHS. So as I say, it was unanimously passed. Now there were 9 amendments put to the bill, all about Millie's Law and Labour, and the 9 amendments were voted down by the Parliament. Of course, Labour screaming SNP and Greens, but I remember right, the Lib Dems and the Tories also voted against 7 of these 9 amendments. So there you go.
Yeah.
Right, what's the next one?
Next one is, of course, soaring by £600 a month as firms ask people to get back to their offices. Any firm that's doing that for somebody that works in a call centre and is a distributed call centre, i.e. working from home, is a bloody dinosaur for thinking that's the answer, right? In actual fact, back in the mid-90s, I dealt with a lot of telephony and call centre and all the rest of it, right? And I actually put out a paper referencing distributed call centres. I was too early. There wasn't broadband at that time. At that time, the maximum you had was ISDN 2, which gave you a telephone line and a very, very slow computer line, IP line. And I have to say that now we're in a situation whereby people can work from home, and the employer gets all the information they need. They can actually even break in on the camera so that they can see what somebody's doing, see if they're sat at their computer, if they're answered, if they're in mid call. They get all the stats to tell them how long they've been on the call. People are actually very, very, very productive when they're working from home. Plus the fact, if they've got children, it doesn't break them. It doesn't stop them from doing that. They can actually look after the kids whilst doing work. It's not impossible, you know. So at the end of the day, it's like it's a ridiculous thing of these. In their thinking, the dinosaurs. The managers are dinosaurs. What they want to do is they want to look at what it is they can actually see of people working in a distributed fashion, i.e. at home. My goodness. Also, it cuts out the fact of the great big bloody offices where they had to heat them, light them, and blooming telephone and all the rest of it. People have got that. And
if you want to cut down emissions, let people work from home if they can.
Yeah.
Now, Catherine's telling us there's no ballot cards in Hamilton West being delivered or postal votes. Wow.
Yeah.
Aye, well. That's a scary one. So the employers, basically, Childcare, I don't suppose childcare costs went up by £600 a month. I think it's just an expense they're having to start paying again, David.
Yeah, well, you've got to understand. It's like, yes, nurseries are blooming expensive, David. Yeah, like, you go into nursery, £600 a month is like certainly down in England. Down in England, depends on where you are. If you're in London, forget it. That's blooming. That's half the bill, quarter of the bill.
He donated 10 years on Monday. It'll be through the bank, obviously, just to match my donation at the cafe for his cup of coffee. No bother, Ian. I'd buy you a coffee any day, mate. You know that. You know. So, so really, this idea of pulling people back into the office is a bloody bad idea on many, many levels. For a start, emissions start going up again. And then you've got the a carbon footprint of the office block, which is having to be used again.
Yeah.
Just get rid of the office block. Turn that into a housing.
I remember taking Katie to the orthodontist in Glasgow. And on the way back, we were wandering back towards Queen Street, the station, so we get the train back to Dalmuir. And Katie looked up. It was winter time. I was getting on in November, December, late in the year, and it was dark when we came out. And she looked up and she saw the offices above us, round about that part of Glasgow. And it was other people with headsets on, sat at desks. And she said, "What are they, Daddy?" And I said to her, "They're call centres, darling." And she said, "Why are they in there? What are they doing?" I said, "These are all dinosaurs. They're going to be gone in a short." This was before the virus, we'll call it, right?
You're allowed to say pandemic. You're just not allowed to name the bloody virus.
Okay. And in actual fact, during that time, people were told to go home and work from home, set up a wee office and all the rest of it, right? And that's the way it should stay. And the idea is stupid. It really is.
Anyway, it's madness. It's madness. When people are working from home, who can work from home, then that's less emissions on the road.
Yeah, that's right.
That's less commuting. Of course, there's less carbon footprint by having these old chicken ranches still running, because that's what you used to call centres in the 80s, mind. In the 90s, chicken ranches.
Yeah.
Now, H, who's in Rotherham, said he's got his letter of his voter ID certificate for the council.
Right.
No ballot card.
No, hang on a second. It's a wee bit of a misnomer. You don't actually need a ballot card to vote.
We all know that. But at the same time, they should have been sent out by now. So
yes, appreciate that. But at the same time, if you are on the voters' roll, if you are living at the address that's on that voters' roll,
how's it gone with the North East Food Banks? Well, with a problem getting money up to Moray because our account doesn't recognise their account. I'm waiting to hear from Montrose, and I'm waiting to hear from Inverary.
We got Inverness in last night. That was a good one.
Inverness in last night, aye.
Yeah. So anyway, right.
This month we did Dundee and Angus Food Initiative, Inverness, and as I say, over the next couple of days, I'm hoping to hear back to these places. I've spoken to them. I'm just waiting on them.
Let's go on to something that's a wee bit. It's not comical for the lass involved, but it's quite comical of what happened to the person or persons. Is GB News, the misogynist rant by Lawrence Fox and laughed along with by Dan Wooten, who's now got his jotters from GB News.
It's one of the most sexist things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
He said the lassie, wasn't he? Beddable. I'm not going to use the language that he used, you know. Any man that would better was would better would be a male. And this was because of your political views.
Yeah.
I mean, where did they drag this Neanderthal out?
Yeah. Well, he's the son of Edward Fox, the famous actor of the 40s, 50s, and 60s, right? As far as I'm concerned, the apple's fallen far from the tree. Fox was anything like that. This Lawrence Fox, he's just a dirty individual. Simple as that.
But apparently it was a set-up. The two of them had already spoke about using this
Oh.
misogynist language.
Yeah.
So the base of them are half air now.
Yeah.
But I was
Let's
seeing in the
let's
press.
have a laugh about it. And Dan Wooten says, "Oh, I'm really sorry. I didn't realise it was that bad."
Apparently, he was trying to phone her and everything, poor lassie. And apparently, she'd be getting death threats and all.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
but
yeah, she was on doing the blog that they do,
Political Joshi's on that.
and she was saying that she was getting real death threats of people.
Eva Evans, her name is, I think.
Yeah, Ava Evans, that's right.
Eva Evans, that's right. Poor lassie. I mean, she was on the mainstream media saying that she was getting death threats and things like that because of this nutter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway, David, we're out of time, folks. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you found it informative. Thanks very much for your kind contributions. 165 watching us on YouTube, David, and we've got 212 total watching us live right now. At the peak content, we had 228 people watching us, which is brilliant.
That's good.
Thanks again, folks, for watching. For all over the world today, as I say, we've got a wee high five for YouTube telling us we're now reaching 112 countries. 112 countries, which is amazing. There must be an awful lot of people in the 112 countries.
I tell you what, it's like everybody at some point always thought it'd be nice just to have the TV work the other way around.
Hello world. Now, if you're on YouTube, hit the like button, smash the subscribe button if you haven't already subscribed, and come and visit us again. We go out twice a week, Monday at 2 p.m. and Thursday at 4 p.m. If you're on Facebook, folks, we still have a huge audience who re-watch the program on Facebook. Please like and share on Facebook as well. And you guys on YouTube and all, share across your social media platforms for us, please. Okay.
Anyway, all I'm going to say is, bye, Davey. Bye, guys.
Bye, folks. Bye, Davey. Right, I need to go and run. I've got a dog to take out, and I've got to get to work. Catch you later.
Do the washing.